So today I'm going to be doing a tutorial on how to throw some cups. First we're going to start with the throwing. Once it's nice and centered, this is just going to be like a simple cylinder, so I just start by pressing my thumb down into the clay, and then use two fingers, and then fingers on the outside. Make sure you're always supporting both sides, otherwise your pot might collapse. And then I'm just kind of pulling like this towards the edge, but not too hard. And then just keep widening, kind of pulling out. And now I'm pushing with both fingers, so pressure in, and then I'm kind of pulling up, so forcing the clay up. And still kind of using a hook shape on the inside so it pulls the clay up. And then you want to stop and not go all the way because it'll make the top the wrong shape. You want kind of a flatter top, not like tapering. And then make sure you use lots of water. Now I'm just going to kind of push my finger in down at the base to get a place to put my finger. And on the inside you just can reach down to the base and kind of press, like start in the middle almost, and then press like this, so there's not a big thick patch right here at the base on the inside. And then you get this little ridge, you're just going to pull that straight up the pot. And turn the wheel down if you're having difficulty. Usually helps. And then just continue pulling it up. And generally, you try to keep the top a little bit more narrow, like not flaring out. At least make sure it's flaring in, because if it gets to where it's flaring out, it makes it a lot more difficult. So you're just trying to make it as even as possible, pushing in places where it's thicker, and then kind of letting up in places it's thinner. And there it is. So this is kind of the shape I want, a little bit curved in the middle. So I'm happy with this shape. This is silicone. Well, before I use this, I'm going to use this tool. It's just wooden. It's double-sided. This is kind of curved. This is sharp. And come right here and cut this extra clay off the bottom. Just straight down. And then scrape it like that. It doesn't always come off. Sometimes it comes off, but you just take it off. Now I'm going to use this tool. Kind of curve it to fit the shape of the pot. Come straight up. Now I'm using this soft sponge to get the base nice and smooth. This is the hardest part to do in a tall vessel. You can also use the sponge on the outside just to smooth it. Now I have this little tool here which I just made. It's just a little piece of t-shirt or dish towel you could use as well. And it's to finish off the rim and make it nice and smooth. I'm actually going to pull the top of this out just a little bit. So it's just slightly flared, like that. Now I'm going to make a few more and we will move on to the trimming. So I forgot to show how to take them off the wheel, so I'm going to do that now. This is a wire tool. You can pretty much get it at any art store or ceramic store. What you want to do is hold it tight and then press down with your thumbs like this. And you want to keep it as close to the wheel as possible. Do not let it come up or it will take part of the base of your pot out, like inside, and it'll wreck it. So just pull it along. And you want to make sure it's pulled nice and tight. I have this tool. This is called a metal rib. And you want it clean and dry pretty much. And what I do, there's a lot of ways to take ceramic stuff off, but this is how I do it. Just slide it under and then pick it up part way, put my hand, and then move it to wherever I'm going to be storing it, just temporarily till I trim it so it can dry. And it won't be exactly round, but it's pretty close. and it can easily be fixed when it's leather hard. So now I'm going to do a little walkthrough on how to trim a vessel like this that's pretty tall. So you'll want to have some clay to hold it on there, and this needs to be pretty soft clay. Basically, just put it right along the rim, and I just centered this by eye. You want to secure the base all the way around on something that has a pretty small base like this. Then I have this trimming tool. This is what I'm going to use. So the wheel should be pretty medium speed. It doesn't have to be super slow, but it's better not to go too fast. When you're doing the base, it's important not to go through, obviously. I can hear that this is pretty thick. Generally when it makes like a high-pitched sound, it's thicker. So I'm just going to start removing some of this weight from the base. This is how I do it. Some people do it with a thinner tool, like this, which I'm also going to use in a minute. Now the sound has deepened, so you know it's thinner. Okay, and then I'm just taking the edge off right there, and then usually for tall things like this, this area here is pretty thick, so I'm going to thin that out a little bit just by taking some clay off right here. You can make the base itself smaller, which is what I just did, just by pressing in kind of at an angle. The next, I'm going to put the design in. It's kind of a swirl down the side. You don't want to get it wet before you do this, because the pieces that come off will stick. I go pretty slow, so I don't mess up. And then when I see the line coming up, just avoid it, and then pretty much just makes the swirl by itself. Okay. Once it gets to the place, then you just start pressing again. Kind of tricky. Yeah, and that's it. Also can use the silicone tool, kidney, for smoothing the base. And then I'm just smoothing with a soft sponge as usual, as always. That's it. Now all there is to do is remove the clay, and it's a little misshapen, but it's fine, it can easily be fixed just by pressing it back. All finished. Next we will be, well, now I'm going to bisque fire this, and then we will be glazing. Here's the set after firing. This is the glaze I'm going to use. There's not much technique involved in glazing pottery. Basically you want a pretty wide brush. Make sure the glaze is mixed up very well. This is the consistency you want. Probably like pancake batter consistency. So for the inside, I usually just pour the glaze in like this. Kind of swirl it around like this. And then do the same thing when I'm pouring it so it gets the rim. But you can also kind of use the brush to push out the extra glaze. And then finish the rim. There it is. Don't worry if there's some little lines like that. They should smooth out in the kiln. But for this specific design, I found that painting this direction, kind of horizontally, is better. Let it dry a little bit so you can hold it in a different place. And I'm going to do a couple different coats. And it dries pretty rapidly because it soaks into the bisqueware. And don't worry about making it super smooth, especially with these Potter's Choice glazes, which is what I'm using. They tend to smooth out in the kiln even if they're not applied like super smoothly. So, these turned out really nice. I hope that yours turned out just as well if you were following along the tutorial. This one probably turned out the best because the glaze was the thickest. This one, we didn't get much color on the outside because I didn't make the glaze as thick. And you can change that for how much color you want on the outside. That was just for this glaze. The inside turned out nice though. And they're all different, which is kind of cool. Base is nice. So, I hope you enjoyed this video and this tutorial. Comment below if you want us to make more tutorials like this. And thanks for watching.